Hello and welcome to the wrap-up of our July 3rd, 2023 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. And this time we're talking to Board of Supervisors member Ron Gould, and it was a very long meeting, much longer than we expected.
It was.
What stood out? I guess, frankly, folks, the chickens, right?
I think chickens in storage containers were the two hot items.
Yeah, and believe it or not, they were hot. They were. There was a lot of controversy, a lot of debate, frayed nerves on the parts of some of the audience as well. Why do you think that was? They were so adamant about it.
Well, people moved to the unincorporated areas of the county to have more freedom. And the county doesn't do a real good job of enforcing their ordinances. So you have people that have chickens on properties that you're not really supposed to have chickens on. So, you see your neighbor do that, and then you think, well, he's got chickens, I might get some chickens. And, so then you have chickens, and then you think that it's okay for you to have chickens. And then you find out staff brings up an item that says, no, it's not okay for you to have chickens on that particular property. And we're talking about smaller properties. So they feel that they're having a right taken away from them. And it's not really what it boiled down to. That right was taken away from them decades ago when they started zoning properties. But after a while, you get used to doing what you want to do. So then they feel that their rights are being stomped on. And they are, but it wasn't us that's stomping on them. What we did actually allowed them to keep chickens.
Is it just chickens that we're talking about here?
It is just chickens, which was one of their complaints, because it was, what about ducks and peacocks and guinea hens and whatnot? Because it doesn't let them keep those birds on the smaller properties. And really, you don't want a peacock in a residential neighborhood. The peacocks are really loud.
And of course, we're talking county here, which people have to understand.
Sure.
Cities like Bullhead and Lake Havasu and Kingman have their own regulations.
Right, and this is only for the unincorporated areas of the county. I know Kingman has an ordinance that allows chickens. Bullhead does too. Havasu does not. So the incorporated part of Lake Havasu, they haven't got with the picture and let their folks have a couple of chickens.
Is there a limit to the number of chickens?
I believe it was 4 chickens, and then you got an additional chicken for every 1,000 square feet of yard or property that you had. And then it outlaws roosters.
And the chicken number could change, and the individual chickens can change according to whether they're going to be used for the eggs or for a meal.
I don't know that it had anything in there. It could vary from day to day, but I don't think the ordinance actually made any differentiation between meat chickens and egg chickens or anything.
Got you. But you think it's an advance forward?
It does actually give them some more freedom. On first blush, it appears that you're having a right taken away from you, but apparently that right was taken away 50 years ago.
Got you.
And so this actually, people want to keep chickens. They want to feel more secure about food. They want their food to be fresh, and they know what the birds were fed and things like that, and it makes them feel better. And really, it's not a big deal. Roosters are extremely noisy. I have a bunch of chickens out at my place, and I have a bunch of roosters too, and roosters are noisy. The hens are not too noisy. They're pretty happy when they lay an egg. They're pretty proud of themselves, so they squawk a bit when they lay an egg, but I don't think it's going to create a problem. It's so dry here that you're not going to get a lot of odor because the chicken manure dries out real quick. And people that have 4 chickens, they're pet chickens. It's not an egg ranch situation.
Yeah.
So I think overall it's good. Well, hopefully the people will understand what we did was actually allow them to keep chickens rather than take away the right to keep roosters.
All right, then the other item, like you pointed out, the metal containers, the storage containers. This one, frankly, took a great deal more time and was delved into a lot more than I think most people expected. And you might want to talk about that and what the conclusion was.
It's not uncommon for people to use storage containers, because these are like Connex, ocean containers that bring products over from China. They get sold off after they've been used a couple of times, and people use them. They're pretty secure, so you would see them in the rural areas, even on vacant properties. Say you wanted to keep some stuff out on your land, so it would be safe when you went came out to go camping or whatnot. So you see them there, and you see them in people's in their yards also. And the rub, how it's always been is you could have the cargo container. You didn't need a permit for it, but it counted towards what's called your open lot storage. So you have a certain amount of a percentage of your yard that you can have open lot storage, which is cars, things that it's stored out in your lot that's not inside of your home or your garage. And if you were to get the cargo container also, that counted towards your open lot storage. In a regular residential lot, you only have about 230, I believe, feet of open lot storage. So if you got a cargo container also, then you would be over the number. And apparently, the code enforcement has been urging people that have a bunch of stuff in their yard that they should get a cargo container and put their stuff inside the cargo container to kind of hide it from people's view and make the people's yards look a little nicer. But that was the rub, is they can't have both. They would be in a normal sized lot. They were over their allotment for open lot storage.
Now, this one's not resolved.
No, it was not. We went ahead and tabled that for a future meeting and gave staff some instruction. Personally, if we have a problem, I'd rather deal with the problem rather than creating broad regulation, because they were going all the way up to 40-acre parcels. How many could you have on a 40-acre parcel? And it's not a problem. In the rural areas, it's not a problem because the parcels are bigger and your open lot storage is 2% of the area of the property. So you could have as many containers really as you wanted to, or that you were willing to afford when you got out in the rural areas. So it was more of in a neighborhood kind of situation. That was the problem they were trying to address. So we sent them back, and hopefully they'll come back with something that only addresses that particular unique problem.
All right. I know, again, we've been talking about the July 3rd meeting, which just concluded. Tomorrow's a big holiday, the big holiday. Are you going to be at home in your area?
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be out of my ranch in Yucca or whether I'll be in Lake Havasu City. One or the other, haven't really decided yet. Lake Havasu gets pretty crowded.
Oh boy, does it!
And it's been last few years it gets even more crowded. So I'm not sure. Both my sons live in the city, so I don't know whether I'll be in there or be out at the ranch. But it is an important holiday. People need to remember that the reason for the holiday is because we declared our independence from Great Britain. I gave a speech at church yesterday on that subject. The pastor asked me to talk about the Declaration of Independence, and I thought it'd be a little more interesting if we looked into the things that led up to the Declaration of Independence. And it was actually about a 12-year period following what was called the French and Indian War. Yes. And the 7 Years' War that England won, but they had a heck of a war debt, and they tried to push that debt off on the American colonists. And that's essentially what that and their enforcement of the taxes was what led up to us finally getting mad and then declaring our independence. Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence with, it was a committee. It was Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Roger Sherman, and Robert Livingston. They were the committee that was appointed by the Second Continental Congress to draft the Declaration. And so those five men asked Jefferson to do it. So Jefferson worked on it, and he bounced it back and forth with that committee of five until they got it where they wanted it. Then they introduced it to the Continental Congress on July 2nd. They didn't vote out exactly what Jefferson wrote, because no legislative body ever accepts that. They always got to tweak it. So the Continental Congress tweaked it a little bit. Then they adopted it on the 4th of July of 1776. They didn't actually sign it, though, until August 11th, I believe. Maybe it's in August when they signed it.
We keep the July 4th.
Right, but July 4th is when they actually adopted it.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, those 56 men that signed that declaration, they signed their own death warrant. Because if they were captured by the British troops, they would be executed for treason.
And John Hancock stood out there the most.
Right. He said he signed his name large enough so that the king could read it without his glasses.
There you go.
Might have been spectacles at the time, but that was his point.
All right. Thank you very much. Supervisor Ron Gould, and this has been the discussion wrap up of the July 3rd, 2023 meeting. Thank you.